Hi everyone, welcome to the latest podcast. Today we're doing signature guitars. I've got Mike and Lee with me. Say hello guys.
Hello.
Hiya.
Check out the lovely guitars and hope you enjoy. So guys, we're doing Strats. What do you reckon? Do you like my signature Strat?
Love it.
Yeah.
Suits you.
Yeah, it's not a signature at all, it's just a Strat.
Well, there you go.
It's hard to tell, isn't it, if a guitar is a signature Strat or not. What's the difference? Just different pickups? Different woods?
Yeah.
There's a Radiohead signature guitar where he's got a sustainer built into it.
Oh really?
But other than that, I think it's Ed O'Brien. He's got like a white Strat with a sustainer switch on it. Other than that, I can't really think of any major differences with sort of signature Strats.
You're only going to tell by the signature on the headstock, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I think so. I mean, there's obviously key characteristics you could do. You know, where changing certain pickups, I suppose, would jump out. You know, you might want DiMaggio's or Seymour's in this one particular, or you might want to put a Larry, I don't know, trem on it. You know, but is that going to spoil the subtle, beautiful kind of creation that is a Fender Strat?
Well, they're not very distinctive, the signature ones, are they, compared to some of the other ones we've got here? But why change it when it's awesome, right?
I think so. I think it's pretty much one of the guitars that doesn't really need to be changed that much. It hasn't changed since the 50s when it was created. I mean, not rocket science, is it?
Right, should we go to the probably the most popular signature guitar next?
And what will that be?
With the Les Paul.
Les Paul.
Les Paul.
That counts, that does count.
It does count, yeah. Okay.
Right. So let's get them out.
Right, okay.
Right. So Les Paul's the most famous signature, surely, right? Les Paul himself.
Legend.
Yeah, the legend.
Yeah.
What do we know about him?
Mike, do you want to...
Not a lot, actually. I've not really listened to much of his music, to be honest.
He's a jazz guitarist, wasn't he?
Jazz guitarist,
Big fan of his guitars, though.
Yeah.
He was in a duo with Mary Ford back in the day, and they were like, you know, Les Paul's quite high, not like the traditional Slash and Zach Wild down by the knees. Very, old school, kind of jazzy. Yeah. He was pretty nifty, some of the little licks. I've looked at a few little things he's done. I think he had an injury as well. I think he broke his arm or something, which made the development of the Les Paul and wanted to sort of curve out parts to make it a bit more kind of easier to hold and things. Right. So
he was a pioneer with multi-track recording as well.
Right.
Do you know that?
Mate,
I think he might have done the first 4-track device. I could be wrong. Put comments below, correct me.
Comments below, yeah. Maybe. I mean, being a guitarist, you want to try out new stuff, invent new stuff, right? So
Les Paul is probably iconic as much as the Strat. These two, when you think of guitars, most people, if they don't play guitar, would think, of a Les Paul or a Strat.
If you mention a guitar to someone who has never, someone who's not a player, I think in their head they either see a Strat or a Les Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, very different shapes, but both iconic in their own right.
Yeah, you might think of Hendrix on the Strat, or Slash, or Jimmy Page for the Les Paul.
Yeah.
Iconic players.
Yeah.
So yeah, these aren't actual signature models, are they? But they are technically signature guitar.
Well, there's the signature right there on the headstock, which says it all really, doesn't it? Yeah, I think.
So next guitars we can talk about are these two.
Okay.
Because these have been modded. These guitars. This guitar has got Slash Seymour Duncan pickups in it.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so Mike, who lent me this guitar for the video, thanks Mike. I want to buy it off you, by the way. He knows that, I've told him. So this has been modded with Slash pickups, but it's just standard Les Paul. Well, it's lovely, isn't it? But you wouldn't know, would you? It's not a Slash model. I don't know what's the difference between a Slash model and a... I think this is a traditional.
He's got some new signature models out which are in like signature bursts.
Right.
So he's got a really nice green one.
So the colours might
Anaconda burst, but other than that, I think they come with the Slash pickups and a few extra little features like what are they called? Lock-in.
Has it got lock-in?
Strap locks.
Strap locks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a cigarette burn somewhere, probably on it. Always worn down.
He does that to each guitar.
It's got to be. There's
Did you know the Les Paul he used on Appetite for Destruction wasn't a Gibson?
No,
that was a fake. I did know that was a fake, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was like a sort of custom built by some guy. It was like a Gibson replica. It wasn't a real Gibson.
Yeah, I heard they wouldn't give him a deal or something until he was successful. But
you change your tune now, Gibson, right?
Yeah, they've embarrassed themselves, haven't they?
Well, imagine going into Gibson with that album and say, well, "There you go. That is what I've just done on some $100 guitar."
Yeah. Okay, we'll give you one or two. Yeah. So this Strat used to be yours, didn't it, Mike?
It did used to be mine, and then it was yours.
Yeah.
It's changed
that was Andy's. Andy's got it now. Andy, I want it back. I want that back.
So I bought it a couple of years ago. Basically, the story behind it is I'm a massive Iron Maiden fan.
Yeah, aren't we all?
And Dave Murray from Iron Maiden, he had his own Strat, which they didn't really do a production model of it. It's sort of very different, as you can see. It's very different to your standard Strats, mainly because of the pickups in it. It's got hot rails, and it's got a Pel pick guard. So it didn't come like that. I just bought it standard. Bought some of the pieces like over the years, changed the pick guard, bought the pickups, paid Andy in Bletchley.
Andy Vickers. If you're a bit on Keys, Andy's the man to go to, right?
To sort of solder the pickups in for me, and then about a year after, I was sort of finished with it at that point, and then about a year later, they brought out a production model, which is basically exactly the same as that, but with a Floyd Rose on it as well.
Right.
And it's about 50 quid cheaper than what I'd spent making it.
It's fun modding guitars, isn't it?
It was fun modding it, yeah.
Yeah, that's the fun of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can make it your own, because no one else is probably going to have the exact same guitar,
But that's kind of cool why we've got these guitars, because you could get the sort of sound or the effect of a signature guitar without going down the route of having a signature guitar. Because is it a negative thing to have a signature?
It could be depending on what gig you're playing. If you kind of, I don't know, doing a rock gig and you've got a guitar that doesn't sort of fit that avenue, then it might look a bit strange. Steve Vai guitar for a jazz thing.
Well, I think that would be superb, by the way.
But even like a Bon Jovi, you wouldn't play Rich Sambora on a gem. It just wouldn't look right, would it? Wouldn't feel.
I mean,
right,
more like
maybe.
is it because it's associated? So obviously, it's associated with one player in particular.
Yeah.
When you're trying to be a pro guitarist yourself, even though we look up to these people. Do you want to be associated with, with another artist? Do you want to do your own thing, especially when you're younger, right? Trying to make a career and all that sort of stuff. So
depends how obvious the signature guitars are, So some of the guitars we'll come to later are.
Got a few, to be fair, haven't we?
Some of the ones we'll come to later are not so obvious signature guitars. Whereas obviously the Tele, for example, you would immediately get associated with Led Zepp if you go on stage with that.
Yeah.
Whereas
if you know about that, because there's a few people might not know.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that one in a minute.
Yeah. I mean, turn up with the blue gem. It's a bit leery. It is kind of stand out.
Could be worse. It could be yellow.
It could be yellow. It could be lots. I mean, they did lots of horrific colours, I suppose, which are all cool. Yeah. But it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, is it? If you're everyone's got kind of traditional Fenders or there's a nice Gresh drum kit or something, and you turn up with that thing, it's not going to be for everybody.
I want to do a gig where it's some kind of country gig, and I turn up with a Beast Ridge Warlock.
Like a Mason Boogie stack as well.
You play jazz standards or something like that.
Well, that's it. Guitars are, they're individual, and you're individual.
That's the thing about the signature thing, isn't it? So that's the trade-off. But people are, it seems to be quite a polarising thing. People I like them all. I think they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
I wouldn't have it as my only guitar, but if you've got a bunch of guitars, Steve's actually all my guitars.
Well, I mean, we'll come on to the Gem, won't we? But, the Gem is probably the one that's the biggest selling signature
I think it is
guitar.
the biggest, apart from the Les Paul, which doesn't count.
Just
really
it's not kind of the same thing. It is, I mean, Vai really did do something there, didn't he, with the PR and, made a guitar that, look, this is, you know what that is. It's a Gem, it's Steve Vai. It can't be, a Les Paul, you could argue, Page, you could, Townsend,
there's more than one person.
Zach Wild, there's millions of people. But that does, I mean, that's like a DNA stamp Steve Vai. It's kind of cool.
We should play some stuff on these. Should we give them a go? Right, we've got the SGs out. So these aren't technically signatures, are they? So why have we got these then?
I think they're so associated with a particular guitar player. Mine, so associated with Angus Young that even to a non-guitarist, you see someone with one of these and it just screams AC/DC.
It does, yeah.
It does, yeah.
He does have his own model, doesn't he, with the Fender?
He had a signature. I don't think it's in production anymore, but instead of the blocks, it had lightning bolts, which was pretty cool, yeah.
And there's been a lot of players. I mean, Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath started with actually was a Fender Strat or a Tele he had originally.
Really?
Yeah, and then he went into, I don't know, I think he got a Les Paul or an SG, fell in love with the SG because it's kind of, rock, metal. Yeah. The
That
horns
is the
of
guitar the
devil.
Batman would play, wouldn't it? If he had a black one, that's, you see a sign in torch in the sky for Batman.
Yeah,
If he needs to go to a gig urgently, he'll be in the shape of an SG.
But
It needs to be black, though.
Yeah, got to be black, hasn't it?
With yellow bats on the fretboard.
Bats.
Apologies, bad jokes.
But there's modern bands as well, Stereophonics,
Kelly Jones.
Yeah, Kelly Jones used it. Always still, I think, does use it to this day, the SG.
Soundgarden, Kim.
Yeah.
He used a Guild.
It was a Guild, wasn't it?
It wasn't
but
Gibson. It was basically an SG, though. It was a Guild. I forget the production name, but I think he had a white one.
right, probably SG something.
Something like that,
Probably wouldn't be allowed. Maybe wouldn't be allowed.
Pete Townsend.
He
yeah.
uses quite a few guitars, doesn't he? He's got a Strat. He's got a Strat signature with
he
three.
gets,
He's got extra
Yeah.
tone knob.
He gets through guitars a lot, though. That's probably why.
I think he still does that now. Pete, do you still damage guitars?
he couldn't break a Les Paul, could he? He tried, but just couldn't break it.
Right.
I think
Must try harder, Pete. I'll give you a call later. We can discuss.
A Strat just breaks like nothing, but I think Gibsons take a little bit more of a beating. But I mean, like you say, is it a signature? Mine hasn't got Les Paul on it, but Mike, you were saying about when his signature was still on the SG to a certain point.
Yeah, well, mine doesn't have it, but mine is technically not an SG. Mine's technically a Les Paul still.
All right, tell us a story about this.
It's basically, this is a 61 reissue. So it's a reissue of the guitars that were coming out in 61. And at the time, they just rebranded the Les Paul. So,
they were going to discontinue the Les Paul.
They were going to stop making it in that style and make it like this instead and just keep calling it the Les Paul. And Les Paul himself saw the guitar, hated the sight of it so much, didn't want to be associated
He wasn't a
with
fan
it.
of Batman.
Didn't want to be associated with it and asked them to take his name off the headstock. So they had to rebrand it and call it the SG, which stands for Solid Guitar.
Yeah. So everyone's a winner because they haven't got Les Paul one yet.
Pretty solid.
The Les Paul the sales were terrible, and that was the thing. And I think Gibson thought, let's do a new invention and create something a bit wild. And like you say, Les Paul, I think he played it and didn't like it either. He didn't like looking at it. He didn't like playing it.
Crazy to think that the sales were terrible, whereas like nowadays. These 59, 60 Les Pauls are going for what? I mean, how much do they go for? Probably 30, 40, 50,000 pounds.
Crazy money.
And at the time, they weren't selling.
We make a great coffee table, not like But no, I mean, they're simple. Not much can really go wrong at a gig. You break a string, it's in tune, which is, Floyd Rose, you are done.
Oh yeah.
Well, right, you guys should give us some riffs then. So let's give it a go.
We'll do it.
So, Mike, you got the Dragon Tele there. So, tell us the story behind that.
It came out a couple of years ago. They did this one, and they did the one with all the mirrors on it. I don't know.
This is the Jimmy Page Tele, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Page signature. Yeah. He had two signatures. This one, and then one with a load of mirrors on it. It was like a white telly.
Oh, is that the round mirrors?
Yeah, it came just as a white telly. Yeah. But in the case, it came with like loads of little sort of hand mirrors.
Someone else did that in the 60s to
stick it on yourself. Yeah. I couldn't afford that one though, so I got this one.
What's the point? What's the point of doing that? Just a decoration?
Could be.
Because there was another thing.
You'd have to ask him. Yeah.
I'll call him tomorrow as well.
I think Dave Hill out of Slade did all weird stuff with mirrors and all that, and the hats and guitars. And...
I was reading about it. There was another guy who did the circular stuff as well. And that's an interesting one. So he did that himself. Obviously not on your one. Someone painted over that, didn't they?
Yeah, he went on holiday and he left the guitar in his house, and he had one of his mates sort of lodging with him, and as a thank you for letting him stay in this house, he had his guitar repainted. So when Jimmy Page came back, he this beautiful custom paint job was just painted over with something else. I remember it didn't look as good.
Imagine that, you lent me a guitar and I said, I've had it sprayed, mate, you don't mind it. The thing is, that guitar he played on a lot of the early Led Zeppelin albums, didn't he?
Yeah. Definitely on 1 and 2, and I think he used it in the studio a lot for everything.
Was played that. I did
but then live, he used obviously he used the Les Paul.
Yeah. I'll do a little link to the 9 in Time I did with that guitar with the Stairway solo.
Yeah, I didn't know he played a telly on that. So I thought you always presume it's going to be Les Paul, but in the studio, I suppose.
His studio setup, as far as I'm aware, was just a telly and a tiny little combo I think it was like a little Supro or something like that. Whereas you'd imagine that, you know, when you're recording rock and roll and Black Dog and stuff like that it'd be going through like a Marshall 4x12 and a Les Paul. But yeah, literally it was just like a tiny little amp this big and a telly. And it sounds huge. Yeah.
I feel bad now, Drew.
You don't need technology, do you, these days?
This is pure talent. You should give some Led Zeppelin riffs and more of a little play on it. So you got an interesting one there, very iconic guitar, Lee.
Yep, Mike and I were discussing it just before we started filming, and Mike, the line you used was...
well, I was just saying it's, you know, out of all the guitars we're talking about, it's probably the most sort of synonymous with a particular player. Yeah. Obviously, you look at that and it's...
Eric Clapton, isn't it?
You know, you look at that and it's just pure Brian May. You know, I think it's just totally recognisable as his guitar.
Yeah, it's a very obvious choice. I mean, you know, his guitar as well is completely one-off, isn't it? Him and his dad made it together. You know, pickups were made by them. There was the spring from the motorbike. They made their own pickups? Yeah, they're completely electronics genius, I think his dad was, and they made the pickups.
Brian's not too shabby on the old grey matter himself.
No, not at all. Very clever.
PhD in astrophysics, isn't it? Brian May, you make it look really bad.
And yeah, the whammy bar was a knitting needle in his original guitar.
What, really?
Yeah, the dots were his buttons off a cardigan when he was a baby.
No way.
Lots of cool things about the guitar him and his dad made, and I think guitar manufacturers then took that as well. You know, a lot of the phasing has been used.
Yeah, so that's got the out of phase option, isn't it?
Out of phase, yeah.
I should say this is a Harley Benton guitar from the German shop Thomann, which they do great guitars because they cut the middleman out because this is their own brand, so you get a really good guitar for the money.
I mean, it's well balanced, you know. It's I've played a few of these in my time. My best friend's got a very, very high-end version, and you know, for the money, it's, you know, it feels good. It's very, very small. It feels small, you know, like a Music Man or a Patch Kegel kind of thing. You know, it does what it, you know, says on the tin. Really, we'll play it and have a listen. But you know, for a guitar, you want to look like Brian, then
wig is optional.
Wig, curly lead, and all that kind of stuff. But then, lovely little guitar actually. Neck's quite nice on it too. But yeah, the pickups are quite interesting, aren't they? The phase.
Yeah, it's not the same as his, is it? Because you've got the blade switch on that as well.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
he's got is it 6 switches?
I think he's got 6 switches, isn't he? They correspond obviously to each pickup, and you can put them out of phase and things, which again, you know, phasing's not a new thing now, is it? It's used all the time, isn't it? But to have it on a guitar is quite special, really. You know,
he's got his own range of as well.
I think
this is a cheaper one.
This is the lower budget one, isn't it? Guild have made a few. I think he's got there's a few out there.
He's got his own website and he sells it from, I think.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, you know, would they be the biggest selling guitars? Probably not. You know.
Yeah.
But if you're a die-hard Queen fan and you want something that looks cool, even just, you know, looks pretty cool on the shelf there.
Yeah, well, it's the fun aspect. There's something we're missing. Sometimes it's just fun to play a different guitar just now and then. You probably wouldn't turn up to a gig, play the whole gig, but if you want,
unless you're in a Queen tribute band,
yeah. I think you said the fun element. We're too serious, aren't we, guitarists? We, you know, it is fun. It is fun, and that's what it should be.
So we got some really cool guitars here, really distinctive, right?
Yep.
And Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, I don't know about you, but love those guys. Yeah. Really inspirational for me, trying to learn guitar when I was younger.
Yeah.
A bit like Maiden earlier, we were talking about Dave Murray, Adrian Smith.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Passion and Warfare, you know, is one of my biggest influences. And this is a guitar that I bought just for nostalgia, really. I've always wanted the normal floral pattern, the FP. Not this is the BFP, blue floral pattern, but the normal floral pattern. And yeah, they're worth a fortune now. You can't get them for love nor money. Unless they're going to be damaged as they are, you know, you see them all over eBay and stuff. But I bought this one just because I've always wanted a gem. And I think the blue's pretty cool. This is a reissue of the one from the 90s, the floral pattern.
So he did that originally, The blue.
The floral pattern was a bit different, and this hasn't got that lovely kind of pattern with the curtains.
His mum and dad's curtains.
His mum and dad's curtains that they use as the material. So it's just painted on, obviously, but it's pretty cool. It's a beautiful looking guitar. It plays great as well. I wouldn't say I'm going to go out and use this on every gig because obviously full Floyd Rose. It's not the most easiest thing to use. And also, it is Steve Vai, and I don't think you can kind of get away with this in an Iron Maiden tribute band or...
No. It's Steve. Yes. It's his most successful signature guitar in the world, isn't it?
It is.
Les Paul.
Yeah, the Gem is definitely...
So, I've got a Gem Junior, the cheapest range, that I bought from my goddaughter Harley. Thanks, Harley. I've customised it with green knobs. Put the green knobs on. Get a laugh.
Let's try not to do that.
I was trying to keep a poker face there, but...
To be fair, go back to this, the neck, I love the Wizard neck. This is a Wizard 3 neck.
Yeah.
If I'm just going to play without plugging... I do plug it in as well, obviously, but if I'm just going to play downstairs when everyone's gone to bed and I'm trying to practice, I often get this one.
Yeah.
It's so light, it's comfortable.
Really thin, isn't it?
And, yes.
And the grit. I mean...
that's how caused the monkey grip.
The monkey grip
Yeah, I mean...
is...
I didn't do that, did I? But
it's quite cool, isn't it?
I used to have one of the really expensive ones, the 777B.
Tasty.
Black, green pickups, green Tree of Life.
Yep.
And I've just graduated GIT. I'm official Git, by the way. so I graduated, and I had that guitar, and I thought it's like we were speaking about earlier when it's that signature thing, and you don't want to be Steve.
You want to find your own
do
way.
your own
Yeah,
thing. You're not going to be
thing.
better than Steve at being Steve, by the way.
No.
So I sold it, but they're worth about $5,000 now.
Yeah, I mean that's it, isn't it? You're looking at there's kind of three tiers to Ibanez Gems. There's the sort of the bottom, the mid range, and then the high. This is the mid, the premium, which is a really great, well put together guitar.
How much is that? It's about?
This is just over 1,000. No, 1,200, 1,300 about that. And in fact, they're going up in price as well, which is really, really cool. The thing is, they are a stunning guitar. I've got the Gravity Storms in here, and then there's a middle one's the Evolution DiMaggio pickups. So that the top pickups. And the trem's amazing, and with obviously the obligatory Steve Vai strap.
Is that a Steve Vai strap?
This is one of his, he designs these straps himself. DiMaggio clip strap, not for everyone because that is quite annoying. Yeah. But for me, it's just everything about rock guitar. I've always loved this as a child. Yeah. Everything. I saw the first one back in 91, 92, and I thought, that is one hell of a cool guitar.
He's got a Universe as well, a 7-string, isn't he? He's the first guy to do a 7-string production model.
Yeah, I played it. It's a great guitar, and because the neck is generally quite thin, the 7 is quite wide. It's not the easiest.
D, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, you can tune it. A lot of those guys use those, detune it even more, don't
they? They do, yeah.
So are you saying he's the first person to have a 7-string guitar?
Signature guitar.
As a signature, yeah.
As far as I know, I don't know if that was before.
Yeah, I can't really think of many other signature guitars that are 7 strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? That to have a great idea. He's been an innovator all his life, hasn't he?
Yeah.
7 string, let's
musically
do it.
and with this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
these are good modding platforms, so you can change your pickups out. Well, they're all right, they're not too bad.
Yeah,
but the trem's not great. I think the trem's well known for this. It's not to be the best trem, but you could get a Goto and that.
But for the price, though,
the price is fantastic.
Comparing it to the top end gems where you're looking at 3, 4, 5 grand, I think it's a really good. I like the way they do that tier system. Yeah. So you can kind of maybe look at getting the next one.
I agree.
When I first started playing guitar, they didn't have that tier system, and it was if you wanted a gem, be prepared to spend over $1,000.
Yeah.
And so I never got a gem.
The Japanese ones are what, 4K, aren't they? I think
4 to 5, depending on what you want to get. And then obviously, going back the old days, if you've got an 89 of this version or a 91, you're looking at 10 grand.
I think mine was a 91.
91.
Because I don't know the production years when they made the black one with the green pickups, but
it was fair. It must have been early 90s.
You don't see many of them, do you?
No, not
they're quite rare. So.
With the Pier now, the new one, which is not for everyone's taste. I mean, personally, I think the Pier is a little bit too fancy. This is fancy, but that's even more leery.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just don't like that they got rid of the monkey grip because that's the most iconic thing about the guitar, and they've changed it to teardrops.
Teardrops
now.
is good, yeah.
And it's not for me.
I've never played one, but it might be amazing. But
I'm sure they're great guitars to play. I'm sure if I had one, I probably wouldn't want to get rid of it. But
should we ask Steve to send us one? Steve, you've got enough. Just send us one you don't play much.
When you think about this, though, it's quite a bizarre. It does look cool, but actually, you're taking a chunk of wood out of the guitar. So would the tone be affected? I mean, I don't personally think it is. It is quite cool. I don't always use it, but it is. It's quite nice.
Have you seen some of the early ones? Well, they had a smooth
big
It was
oblong.
a hole.
Wasn't
It wasn't really a grip like that, was it? It was just like an oblong.
A huge oblong, which looks pretty awful. I do like the finger, where you can see the fingers, and obviously this thing with the Floyd as well.
Yeah.
The trem, you've got that kind of was it the lion's claw?
Lion's claw. Yeah.
Which is quite cool. So there's a lot of big chunks missing out of this guitar.
So you could really use that as like a haggling tool when you're buying it, because I mean, what are they made out of? Mahogany or?
That's basewood, I think.
Basewood, and obviously there's quite a large chunk missing there, so you should ask them to knock off
you
like
can't bet on my
£100 or
guitar,
something.
You're right. There's a lot missing on these guitars, but I think like the PRSs, the Birds, the Tree of Life is a really lovely thing. And actually, you always think, it's going to be hard to play or know where I am. You've got your dots as well on the top, but looking at the Tree of Life, the more flower, the leaves you've got is where obviously your fingers go, and you get around that dead easy.
What I really like is the disappearing pyramids. I think they look really cool
in this colour,
in yellow or pink. With the disappearing pyramid.
Yeah.
Well, I do. He's got a black one as well with white pickups with white.
Oh, okay.
Disappearing pyramids. That looks really cool.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we should do some talking about this
so
as well.
So
this isn't mine. Whose guitar is this?
This is Nick's.
Which it was mine. So
he's had this for a few years, I think.
I mean,
18 he got it, I think.
Out of the two players, I'm probably more of a Satriani fan than a Steve Vai fan.
Yeah, I'm about equal. I love them both.
Steve Vai was a bit more. He wasn't sort of afraid to walk that line and get a bit experimental.
I think it's the Frank Zappa influence, maybe. I don't know. But,
of course, he played with him, didn't he? Whereas Joe Satriani, I've always found that like the guitar parts that he's writing are almost like vocal melodies.
Yes,
he didn't have a singer, so he would just do the vocal melodies.
A bit more accessible, aren't they?
Yeah, a bit more catchy. And Surfing with the Alien for me was definitely a turning point. When I heard that album, it sort of unlocks a whole new world of playing. Yeah. Basically.
The Crushing Day solo, you realise people are that good. It's a bit like
do you know the story?
Any song on the Passion Warfare album.
Do you know the story behind the Crushing Day solo?
I know he has to sit down to play it live, doesn't he?
Because I think he had a car crash and he wrote it in the hospital. And obviously he was in a hospital bed with his guitar, and he wrote it in his. I'm not gonna play it.
I did play that at college once.
It was so fiddly, and he didn't really sort of think about it when he was.
Bad idea.
When he was writing it in the hospital, and then he went to play it live, and he realised that he couldn't do it standing up. So if you see footage of him playing it live, or if you ever go and see him, he puts his foot up on the monitor, and it's not to look cool. It's because he can't play it otherwise. Yeah, it's that. It's that.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Well, Steve Vai and Satriani, that was his teacher, wasn't it? Satriani taught Steve Vai.
Of course.
And
Larry Lond from Primus as well.
Jeff Tyson as well, I think he taught.
Yeah, he was quite a prolific teacher, wasn't he? And but you can tell the influence there on Vai. You can see that, and you can see how they. But like you say, Mike, Joe Satriani's he's got that melodic, he's bluesy. It's more old school, but still with the crazy ridiculousness.
He still does the dive bombs and the squeals and all that sort of stuff. And I mean,
so that's the actual guitar. So you got two humbuckers.
The specs on it. It's got DiMarzios, aren't they?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's got.
I don't know what.
We should have researched it.
Yeah, I think they are DiMarzio.
They are DiMarzios, and then the tremolo is Edge 2.
Edge 2,
yeah.
What's the difference between that and a Floyd Rose then?
These have got. It's got the bushes, isn't it? You can just pop the trem in and it stays where you want it normally, I think, doesn't it?
A lot of it's probably just marketing as well. It's just a different brand, isn't it? And I think, this is the same actually, similar trem.
Coil split?
I
didn't even know.
So is that the same trem?
It's similar. This is the 2 as well. Yeah, I said it's a really great design, obviously, but playing live, as we said already, break a string and you kind of done for, aren't you?
A lot of players have a love-hate relationship with Floyd Roses. They're great, and when you don't have a guitar with a Floyd Rose on it, you miss them. But when it's your only guitar, they're just a nightmare.
Yeah, like I say, just have more than one guitar, just an excuse to buy more than one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Then you leave in different colours, and
if you're allowed to buy more guitars, unless you're on a band.
Right, should we give these? We'll have to give these a bit of a play.
We've got to play these.
Got to be done.
Yeah.
Right, time for some metal, guys. What do you think?
Well, yeah, black. Well, white and black.
Got a bit of black on this one.
Yeah.
So, who should we start with? Should we start with you first?
Yeah.
So what have you got?
So this is an Adrian Smith signature from Iron Maiden.
Massive fan of Adrian Smith.
Oh,
gotta say,
yeah.
love him.
Oh yeah.
The
me
Dave
too.
Gilmour of metal, right? That's you told me that once.
I mean, I didn't come up with that. I wish I did. But yeah, I saw someone described him as like the Dave Gilmour of metal.
Yeah, which is,
his
I
playing
agree
is
with
just
that.
so tasteful and so everything he plays just is like so right for the song.
Yeah.
You know, he can do the sort of the wild, really shreddy stuff, but it's a lot more sort of bluesy and tasteful.
Maiden, the early days of Maiden's great because you've got Legato of Dave Murray.
Yeah.
And then the kind of bluesy rock style
Really
of...
melodic. And you can always, it's fun when you were younger trying to work out who's who.
Yeah.
An easy way to tell that, by the way, is just put the live album. One of them, I think Dave Murray was always on the left, and Adrian Smith was always on the right.
Yeah.
And I had Live After Death,
Yeah.
and I had a big stereo where you could
pan it.
you could isolate the left and
Oh,
right.
that's cool.
So I used to use it as my backing track. So I just turn Dave
Oh, wow,
Murray
that's
off,
a great
and
idea.
turn Adrian off and just replace him.
I think that's the same with Guns N' Roses, isn't it? I think their albums, guitars are
Pan them left. Yeah.
You could-
Yeah.
Obviously nowadays it's a lot trickier because they've got 3 guitarists. So
Yeah, Yannick
I
joined.
don't know
that.
where Yannick goes.
Mid-
Somewhere in the middle,
middle.
maybe. But yeah, this one they do. I've been wanting one of these for ages, and I only bought it this year. They do an American one, which you know,
What's that, about $2,000?
about 1800, and it's got much higher specs. So you know, the Floyd Rose on this is just a Floyd Rose special.
Special, yeah. All these, most of these sort of cheap guitars got
But
the
to be
same
honest,
trim.
I mean, I'd never bought a guitar with a cheap Floyd Rose in it before, so that's probably why I was sort of sitting on the fence for so long.
Yeah.
Once this guitar arrived, I just fell in love with it. You know, it does. It holds its tuning just as well as a Floyd Rose 1000, or
Right.
you know, the sort of higher end one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just made with cheaper parts. So like,
Yeah,
what
I
is
think sometimes the,
You know?
the pivot points aren't that strong, are they? Metal's not as good as it can be. It's not
so
proper steel.
probably not as durable like long term.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say as well, these sort of sheaths, if you like, you have to screw them in.
Yeah.
They can become very loose and it can just do that.
Yeah,
But there are little things you can buy. You can replace the barrels for not much money.
yeah.
And I use the plumber's tape, white tape, to wrap it around the bar, and that keeps it nice and
Does that
taut
work
too.
for a Floyd Rose?
Yeah, always. Yeah, I put it on all mine. And it's just what
Oh,
you
is
put
it?
around,
Okay.
like, you know, a plumber. Yeah, with down a water
So yeah,
pipe.
this isn't the American one. This was just made in Indonesia, and I paid about $4.50 for it. But I play it just as much as as my SG and the Les Pauls, and it does hold its own. I'm yet to use it for a gig though.
Right.
Hasn't been gigged yet.
Yeah, that's very hard to tell, unless you know Adrian Smith's models. You've got his signature there, but that looks like a Charvel, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, that's
it's got the Charvel, because the Charvel is very much like a Fender, isn't it? And I suppose that Jackson goes down that route rather
But they're
than...
related Charvel Jags, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
I think they're all owned by Fender now, aren't they?
They
They
I
are.
think
They're
so.
all made from the
Yeah.
same factory. But
But
I
you
think
know
like,
that-
Jacksons used to have the traditional pointy headstocks, didn't they? Your
Yeah,
dinkies.
I've got
would go.
one over there somewhere with a pointy head.
Well, that's a bit more traditional, isn't it?
So that sort of helped me buy it, because I think I'm quite the same as you, Lee, in that I don't want I don't want a signature guitar to be too obvious.
Yeah.
I say that I own like a Jimmy Page Tele, which is pretty obviously a Jimmy Page Tele, but with this one, it's just a Super Strat. Really, it's a Super Strat with Adrian Smith's signature on it, and
So what are the pickups? Just Jackson's own designs.
yeah, I think they're like they're designed to his spec. So
Yeah.
he sort of had some input on how he wanted them to be wide and stuff.
What's he got in his? DiMarzio,
In the American ones, he's got a super distortion in the bridge.
which I've got him on my BC Riches.
To be honest, I'm thinking about, because they only go for like £100 or something.
But it's one of the easiest mods you can do.
Yeah,
New pickup.
I'm thinking about taking the pickups out and just putting in a super distortion and some sort of hot single
Yeah.
coils,
Yeah.
But they do sound great. It's just
What's the neck like? Sort of radius is it? Like a Strat, is it?
I didn't really do that research when I bought it. I bought it because I'm a massive Maiden fan. The neck feels great. I couldn't tell you.
What's it compared to like your Fender?
Do you know what? It's chunkier than the kind of necks that I'd usually go for.
Right.
To be honest, but it's what is it? A compound neck, or where it gets thinner at the end?
Yeah.
Is that a compound neck?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great down here for like your sort of chords and stuff.
Yeah, and then when you
but when
shred
for your
it,
lead playing up here, it does sort of thins out a bit. Oh, it's a lovely guitar.
It's a great looking
Yeah,
guitar,
it
isn't
does
it?
look good, doesn't it?
With the maple neck and things, and the white and black, it's classic colours, isn't it? And
I just think of Made in England, that live album.
Yeah, that's the thing. He used it on that was around the sort of era that he started using it. Was like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and which is one of my favourite Maiden albums.
Yeah, superb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a Kirk Hammett model. So yeah, this is relict to be
beaten up
it's got
on
stickers
purpose.
On it. This is sort of Black Album, isn't it? Sort of period, Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
This was the tour that came after the Black Album, wasn't it? Yeah, that he used it all the time for.
So what do we feel about relic guitars then?
I don't really have a problem with them, to be honest. You know, it's if you have the guitar for long enough, it's going to get beat up anyway.
At least it's good to get the damage done before.
Yeah, and then, you know, if you buy a guitar brand new, which obviously we've all done, you do kind of put it on a pedestal until it's had its first ding.
That's horrible, isn't it?
And then once it's had its first ding, you're like, in a way, you're like, oh, thank God I can relax now.
It's over done with. But Joe's got a lovely custom shop Strat as well.
He has, yeah.
That's a beautiful guitar.
I suppose because it's a Kirk Hammett and, you know, it's been damaged how he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, not for everybody, maybe, but if you're a big Metallica fan, this would mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's
if you're 15, you love Metallica. This is what you're going to want, right?
I mean, it's very much in the same vein of Jackson, isn't it? You know, with the inverted headstock and things. So
it's got the same trem, look at it. I think
it has, yeah.
Have you got a Floyd Special? Yeah.
Exactly the same. 2 volumes on this one.
2 volumes.
Oh, what, one for each
pickup? These are modelled on EMGs.
Yeah.
Are they active?
It is active, yeah.
Yeah.
And one tone, obviously, you've got the 3-way switch.
And
obviously, how cool the inlays.
The inlays is pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, no, I mean, it's it's a good-looking metal guitar. Again, it kind of pigeonholes itself into the metal world, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're a Metallica fan, you know, it's good looking guitar.
He's just gone to Gibson as well, hasn't he? Him and Dave Mustaine from Megadeth.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still with ESP as well. I don't know if that's.
I think they are, but yeah, Kirk has gone down the Gibson route now, hasn't he? He's gone, and even James Hetfield plays a lot of the old Gibsons again, doesn't he now, rather than the ESPs and stuff. But
Kirk Hammett owns that famous Les Paul, didn't it? Gary Moore. Who owns it? Gary Moore.
Peter Green's, yeah.
Peter Green's, then Gary Moore's, then Kirk Hammett's.
So worth a few bob now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So what you got there? You got the Music Man.
The Sterling, which is nice little guitar.
Yeah, mid-range sort of Music Man. We sell these, by the way, so if you want to buy
mid-range, right.
So they do a sub-range, which is the cheaper models, which are excellent, by the way. I'm not just saying because we sell them, they actually are really good guitars.
No, it plays nice. It's a very small guitar like you would expect from a Music Man. So nothing.
That's a mid-range, that's a Sterling.
And is this a John Petrucci signature?
It's a John Petrucci from Dream Theater, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously he's got his super high-end ones as well. But this is probably the cheapest one you can buy. It's the John Petrucci one.
These are
it's about £750, but...
So it's a fair
we'll get you a discount if you go on the website.
It's got the tuners, the locking tuners, which you've got on the Charvels and stuff, which are quite nice.
You know what I love about these guitars? The Music Mans, or the Sterlings.
Yeah.
4v2 tuning pegs.
Do
you know why they do that?
I don't know.
It's to keep the strings as straight as possible for tuning,
Right.
for tuning stability.
For tuning, yeah. Well, that is interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's not for everyone. It's but yeah, I like the idea. It's nice when they run that way. Sort of, the physics about guitar is that's the best way it should be, right? Yeah. No angle, just run straight off. Yeah.
And, the headstock doesn't change angle.
There's no dip, is
so.
Yeah.
The 4v2 is a Music Man trademark.
Yeah. Did you not find the first time you played one? Did you not find it hard to get your head around it?
Yes.
Though, because I'm so used to 6 or 3 and 3.
Yeah. Well, I just bought a Sterling Cutlass.
Yeah.
It's over there somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And you keep trying to you're adjusting.
And I think I'm tuning my D string, but I'm actually tuning my G string so hard that it's about to snap.
It's embarrassing to the lesson.
Well, we just know that these are the two that are probably going to snap anyway. So, but it's a nice little guitar, though.
But John Petrucci, though, what an absolute monster of an awesome guitar player, right? He was with Ibanez originally, wasn't he? Then went to Music Man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it.
He had to call sort of Picasso.
He did.
Yeah, like the multi-coloured one, didn't he?
Yeah, which is quite a cool little design, wasn't it? Yeah.
What do you think of the hill with that? Because I think the hill's quite comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's well balanced, I think, which is what's good about Music Man and, like PRS and things. The access down here is just amazing. You can get everywhere. It's a pretty simple thing, isn't it? A toggle switch and volume and tone. I mean, what more can you can't really say what could go wrong. Yeah. In a gig, it's pretty ideal, really, isn't it? Yeah. It looks pretty cool as well, very rock, very metal.
But again, under the radar, if you don't know much about, progressive metal, if you don't know who John Petrucci is, most guitar players do, clearly, but if you're not a guitar fan, are you gonna know you can play that guitar? Most people wouldn't know that.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. I mean, there's lots of people playing Music Man these days. They're a big brand, aren't they? But yeah, it's just a simple guitar, isn't it? And sometimes simplicity is the best thing, right?
What do you think of the neck?
Neck feels really good actually. It is like I say, it's a well balanced guitar. You know, one of those things when you are playing, sometimes the neck does that, or you know, certain guitars are really annoying. This just sits beautifully, and I think that's one great thing. You can tune it however you want to do it.
Yeah. I love the colour. I love the stealth black. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
What about the trem?
Yeah, this trem, it's again like my PRS and things, and the Charvels. I've got, you know, relatively straightforward. Break a string, you're not going to be in too much bother, are you?
Yeah.
Quick change, and I love the lock-in tuners. I think these are great. I think they're really good.
I wish every guitar had them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had them on the Les Paul that I sold to you.
Yeah.
And it makes string changing so much easier.
It's an easy mod as well, isn't it? You could do it to a guitar, but
Yeah.
certain price ranges I think they should come with it. Last guitar of the day then, so how epic is that?
Yeah, this is pretty amazing actually. The Guthrie Govan model. Guthrie was my old tutor at ACM, so I knew him really well, and he was an amazing guy, really great guy.
He can play a little bit, can't he? It's got to be said.
He can, and he loves to use the a little marble. We used to pull out and play with the marble and things. Yeah, really cool stuff to get some really crazy high-pitched sounds. Like Balls on Parade he did with Dizzy Rascal. Yeah. If you go on YouTube, that's Guthrie at his best. I mean, he's just a legend.
Well, it's a genuine virtuoso.
It just is.
Just a master
and just
instrument.
one of the nicest guys you'll ever get to meet as well.
Have you noticed that? People like Satriani and Vi also seem like really nice people with no egos.
Guitarist for you.
I don't know about Malmsteen. I'm sure Ingrid Malmsteen's a nice. I'm sure you're nice, Ingrid.
Yeah, we can leave
Some
that.
people have got bad reps. They might be unfair reps. But you see someone like Vi or Guthrie Govan, they seem like really nice.
I think, I mean, generally, But this is the Guthrie model. Guthrie went from Sahar to now Charvel. This is a beautiful caramelised ash and flame maple with the Charvel pickups. It's
probably hand wide, I would have thought, because this was about £3,000.
This is, I think, 3,000, 3.5 maybe, with a coil switch.
Thanks for James, Wallow, for lending us this. James Higgins is one of our teachers, so he'll be in some more videos soon. But
I mean, it's a beautiful guitar. I mean, I've got a DK24, which is very similar to this. The same tuners, pretty much. Locking tuners, and my favourite thing of all is the dots. These are luminous; they glow in the dark.
Oh, that's cool.
So handy.
So on stage you can see it.
Oh, it's incredible. That sort of super luminova or whatever they put on here. It really.
So your Charvel's got that as well.
My Charvel's got this. Yeah.
What's your Charvel?
It's a DK24, the matte blue frost.
Oh, yeah,
beautiful
guitar. Gareth's got one as well.
Gareth has got the salmon pink or salmon.
I played it. I should know that.
This is lovely. The body's well oiled. It's a lovely piece of wood and equipment.
How about the cutaway in the hill? That's a really cool design.
It is. Yeah, the Charvel.
Want to show it to the camera?
Just they've got all these lovely little kind of grooves here that just fit perfectly with your body. It's a well balanced guitar. Very characteristic of a Strat. Obviously I think they're made in the same factory Fender.
So these are made in California. These ones, surely. Yeah.
This is made USA. I mean, it's a beautiful machine.
So the headstock, it's a Fender headstock. I think.
Yeah.
They're the headstock is the only trademarkable part of a guitar I've heard.
I believe so. Yeah.
Because Fender own Charvel and Jackson, that's why
they're allowed
to have that headstock.
Yeah, I think they've changed over the. And if looking at yours, Mike, this is a little bit not as wide as it as that, but I think they share lots of characteristics. It's a beautiful guitar. I mean, there's no denying. I mean,
so how about the bridge? There you got you can adjust the action or something. This
one's completely locked off, so not really used at all. But it's a standard bridge itself.
If you look at the backplate.
Backplate, yeah.
You've got those
you've got the little
You can adjust the spring tension like
yeah
that, right?
with the little
Without a
screws
screwdriver.
exactly, which makes it so much more easier. And it's so I mean, how cool is that? Accessible. Just you haven't got.
This is why signature guitars can be really cool, because that's Guthrie
pick it
guys
up
obviously
on
thought,
there.
well, this is pain taking the plate off, or I know this has got the holes, but you can't
Yeah.
really do too much. But the sort of the neck joint, the hill,
Yeah,
the access to the springs.
yeah. I mean, you can imagine
it's
he
a great-
actually. Well, he was in the factory. You can imagine him sitting there going through every little finite detail. And I think that's what, if you're going to make a signature guitar, a custom guitar, you want to make sure that they're probably involved in every step.
Yeah,
and I
I'm
think
sure they are,
Guthrie
aren't they?
has been
Especially
completely.
at that price point as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, it's a lot of money, isn't it? You can spend, PRS, you can go up to 10,000, 20,000, but where does it end?
So, do we talk about the core spares? It has got a core spares now.
Yeah, it's got coil switch here. Yeah, so again, very characteristic of the Charvels, the new Charvels now. More versatile, isn't it? Creating different tones.
The 5-way switch, and you can
Five-way
split the
switch,
humbuckers.
and you can tap the humbucker as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which again is going to give you so more options, especially if you're going to record with it. In the studio, you can be a bit more versatile, can't you?
And I like the fact it's got the metal tone and volume knobs, but it's got the numbers on there.
Yeah, the little numbers. So if you can pick it on the camera, it's got the numbers on there. Which is quite
Because
cool.
obviously with the metal dials, you don't really get that, do you? Normally.
No, good
Little
quality.
touch. That's obviously something he wants to see.
Yeah.
He must ride his volume a lot.
He must do.
And he wants to roll that overdrive off,
definitely.
and he wants to see what he's on.
Yeah, well, you can just every bit about this, every component feels top notch, top quality. Nothing's been scrimped on here. This is top notch.
So you could get a signature guitar for 250 quid, which is great if that's what you want, or you could go full hog and
3.5 grand, and again, unless you know Guthrie, this could be played by and could be used for any style. Couldn't it? It could be jazz, metal, rock, soul, funk, whatever.
Do you think a signature at that level is exactly the same guitar that Guthrie plays?
I would imagine this is exactly what Guthrie's got. Yeah, definitely.
Like the gems at a 4K.
Like the
I
gem.
think it's the same as what?
Yeah, most definitely. I think when you're paying that much money, that would be the point, right? I would hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen Guthrie play this.
Again, the signature's on the back of the headstock.
Six on the back.
It's like your Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
Which is this on the back of the
Well, I think that at that sort of when you get to signatures at that level, he does like a lot of clinics and stuff. And I remember hearing him say he wants to be able to, like, if he was doing a clinic in New York and then the next day doing a clinic in London, he'd like to be able to just take a guitar off the shelf, one of his signatures, and it would feel the same.
That's cool.
And the smell, oh my God, I banged on about the smell, but mine just smells exactly like this, and it's the flame, the caramelized. It's just,
lick it. Don't lick it.
It does look that good. You could. I mean, it is. It's a beautiful piece of art.
We talk about the input jack.
Yeah, also, cool thing with Charvels as well, this one's just in the bottom here. My one is actually on the back of the guitar, it's just really cool. The cable's just sort of hidden and kept out of the way. It's a really, again, what a cool thing. Why have it here? Why not put it somewhere else?
That's obviously from a player who's sick of the cable coming out.
Yeah.
I know you can wrap around the strap, but that's just a solution to that. It's like the gem has the same sort of angle.
Yeah, just another
And
way.
the JS as well, doesn't it?
I didn't notice that actually,
Just over-engineering some bows and making it better.
Yeah, if that's the thing, if you're going to change it by little increments, that's quite a good, justifiable
definitely,
useful. So now we've got to play some Guthrie Govan style. Oh my God.
I'll leave that to you.
We hope you enjoyed our Signature Guitar podcast. Tune in for the next one.